Chalice here. Welcome to my show. Start date 44358.1900 or June 11th, 2021, approximately 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So, and as I said, welcome. Hope everybody's having a great Friday and the weekend is here. So, hate to do bummer stuff on Friday night because it's a time to be, joyous and things because the regular work week is over. Although those who work retail don't know what a regular work week is. But um, anyway, it is Friday, and last time we talked about in general zoning. If the government can tell you how to use your property, uh, do you really own your property? And if the government can take your property away if you don't pay them rent. So we're going to continue uh, somewhat along the theme and more about the additional items about government theft and extortion. We went over that last week too, about the definition of extortion. So to be forced to pay for something, to keep hold of something that's already yours, that's their overall definition. The legal definition likes to throw in qualifiers like unlawful and such. It really doesn't matter for a party who does not own what you own, making you pay them money to be able to continue to own what you own. That's extortion. That is the idea behind extortion, and then you can add a bunch of other crap to so that the government can get away with things. But that's what extortion is. So the government makes you pay for things to keep what you already have or to allow you to use what you already have in a way they say only you is the only way you can use it. That is extortion. So some more other examples of the extortion part beyond the zoning and stuff. And we will get into the property taxes again here too. I got another little thing to say about that, but marriage licenses. People think nothing of going down to the county and paying them money to have a license to marry. Um, but really, maybe we should put the brakes on and come to a screeching halt and say what? You have to pay a government to allow you to marry somebody whom you love and want to be married and be together the rest of your life, which is the point of the marriage anyway. You have to get approval and pay from the government. How absurd is that really? And I thought, I don't know a lot about the Bible and things, but I had thought that marriage was a religious institution. It came from the Bible and such. And so um, if that's true, then what the hell has the government got to do with any of it? What say do they have at all? Yes, you go down to your clergy or your church or wherever you go, and go there. Now, what happens if you want to get married and you're agnostic or atheist or whatever, but you still you can love somebody and want to spend the rest of your life with them? What happens then? You won't be going to a church or anything. Why? Um, then maybe you can find some independent party like a ship's captain or a justice of the peace. Anyway, anything you know that's not the government giving you permission. Um, you go to, which would be really cool. Even a notary I think can um, marry somebody. I thought they could. I'm a notary. I should look that up. I should. Sorry, don't use the word up. Doesn't belong there. I should research that, and it's in my manual I have. But you go to a notary, pay them a fee for the service, but they don't care if you're allowed to or not. They're not giving you permission. So getting a marriage license meaning the government has to give you permission to get married, is on the face, and the more you dig on the face, absurd, and digging into it becomes even more absurd. And then you pay them a fee on top of that. So you can't get married unless you pay the government money. How does that make any sense? And how is that anywhere near right? Anything but absurd. This is supposed to be, this country was set up to be liberty minded, and for people to have their liberties, and make their own choices. And the government is supposed to protect those choices, long as you don't interfere with somebody else's right. The government is supposed to protect those choices, not give you permission for your choices. So there you have another example. So people go down to the courthouse and get their permission, and got to do blood checks and all that crap, and they do investigations on your name and stuff. At least they do in this county. But we've gotten so used to it, we don't think about it. So maybe we put on the brakes and say, hey, no stinking way. I don't need your permission to be with somebody I love at all. And I sure as hell don't need to be paying you for that permission. That's like a 1-2 punch. You have to get their permission, and you pay them for their permission. It's more extortion. So there's that. And then if we go, okay, a little bit back to the property tax. We talked about if you don't pay the tax, they'll take it into a tax deed sale and all that. But if, and we all accept that. I personally know an attorney who makes his living on brokering these things, and so it's a really good living he makes, very good living. But we think about it a little bit more. It's your property. Why would you have to pay a government to own your property? So that means basically they're the landlord, you're the tenant, you're paying rent to them, or they'll snatch it away from you. And really, if we had real actual citizens in here, people who, realize that they do not, and property taxes is evil and oppressive. Imagine the person going down to a tax deed sale and buys your property at the tax deed sale, pays the property taxes, and he's going merrily along with his little piece of paper in his hand signed by the judge who stole the land from you and gave it to him, which we learned that from kids. Nobody likes that. So this new so-called owner thinks he's an owner, has this paper signed by the judge, and tries to go on your property and tries to take possession. What do you think would actually happen? Be like Clint Eastwood sitting on the porch with a shotgun. You step foot on his property, you're going to be full of buckshot, right? Really? I mean, it's your property. Just because you didn't pay your rent to the government, who's not supposed to be collecting rent in the first place, they don't own it. So how can they rent it to you when you own it? It just, it's one of those things that makes your mind blow up. So imagine this poor little owner has this piece of paper, and watch it get, watch that paper get full of holes from buckshot passing through it. And that's all it's good for. So, a judge does not own your property, but can take your property away from you and give it to somebody else. Yeah, there's procedures and stuff and all that, but still, the idea is the same. And overall, the idea is what it is. And I was going to say something else. So, but I guess it's gone now. Right. So, and in Florida, and I don't know if other states have this too, but you can't even will if you have your property homesteaded, and that in Florida gives you You get a break on your property taxes, and certain creditors can attach their liens to your property, but only certain creditors. Uh, Government creditors have absolutely nothing stops them from stealing your property, no matter what you do. But just certain, third-party creditors, they can't attach the lien to your property, which is okay. So the first thing is, if you didn't pledge that property when you bought, even if you bought something on credit and you didn't pay the credit, there are certain situations where you can have a judgment against you and it'll attach to the property. So how is that, again, how does that make sense? You did not pledge that property as collateral. Unless you did. If you voluntarily pledge the property as collateral, then yes, they can get it. But if you've already got a mortgage on the property, you cannot pledge it as collateral without getting approval from your mortgage company. But so but you didn't. There is, when you do those forms and stuff, there's no pledging of property. So they can take back the property that you bought, but a judgment lien that attaches to your property, that when you try to sell your property, the lien has to be paid, or you have to pay it, is again absurd. How can they do that? They can't. That creditor can't go any farther than take back the property the personal property that you bought, for example. But homestead stops that from those kinds of liens from attaching to your property, but only because it's homesteaded. The instant that it's not homesteaded, things immediately attach. So, but I don't want to. I'm not getting into the legal aspects of what homestead means. But basically, so there are some advantages and definite disadvantages. For example, if you get a break off your property taxes, which does not exist anyway, so that's a moot benefit. It's a benefit that means nothing. You get certain liens cannot attach. Again, should mean nothing. You didn't give them your property as collateral, so they can't come after it. So it looks like benefits of homestead really should not be, are moot. And but if your property is homesteaded, you cannot do anything with that property. It has to go. You can't will it to anybody else, even if it's just in your name and not your spouse that you're married. You can't send it by will to any other party. So it's called devising. It's got to go through the spouse, and if no spouse, then to your direct heirs. That's if it's homesteaded, it's got to go that route. Now, if you owned the property before you got married, then that's different. You can, as long as you did not put it in both names. Nor can the husband and wife decide to will it to somebody else, wife, sister. If they got children, it's got to go to the children first. So that's how it is. So again, here's the law telling you what you can do with your property, and what you can do with it after you die. Because wasn't a will designed to say, this is my property, this is my stuff, this is what I want to do with it. And how is any government going to tell you can't? So there we have. You wonder how you can own your property, your real property, if the government can tell you even after you die that it can or cannot go to certain places. So, okay, now more examples of extortion. We have in Florida the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. You know what that means? Basically, it's a money grab. You have to pay the state government in order to have a business. Certain businesses, medical, contractors, dental, um, even a bar. For a bar, you have to register. You want to be a hairstylist. Um, there's a whole slew of stuff. I can't remember them all. But I mean, and it doesn't matter. You have to pay again. In order to have your business, you have to pay the government. Uh, and you might say, well, it's to make sure people are qualified. No, there are no. This department, DBPR, Department of Business and Professional Regulation, there's no investigation of qualifications. You could be the worst hairstylist on the planet. You pay them their fee, you're good to go, right? Um, so that's which means or you might be the greatest one. Man, I can make lots of money. I can do people's hair and I can do all kinds of stuff and I'm good at it and people like it and I'll get lots of business, right? Hold on here. The government says you have to pay them in order to allow you to do that. Yeah, maybe they require a certificate of graduation or some such, but that's just for show, because you can get those and still be who knows, people who are great at something and people who are lousy at something, but they both have this a similar sort of diploma or certificate or qualifications, huh? You take a car to a mechanic. Yeah, they have all these certifications on their wall, but you get you do a simple repair and the car comes out worse than what it was when it went in. So that's all meaningless. The whole point of this DBPR is a money grab. That's really all it is. So that there is another example of government theft and extortion. You could be great at what you do. You could have. I mean, in a year, you could turn around your startup money and be just rolling in dough, right? You'd have customers coming here and there, and everything's going along. But let's come to a screeching halt because the government wants its cut. Like any other mob, it wants a cut. It wants a piece of the pie, a cut of the action. Wish I could remember. Wish I could do like Kirk did in that Star Trek episode. But the government has to have its grubby, greedy fingers in every single cookie jar it can even come up with. And if there is no cookie jar, they'll make one. Just and then you've got to fill it so they can steal it from you. So there is another DPPR is another mob extortion example. I actually, wow, I'm at 18 minutes already. I'm running long. I have some more. I could do some IRS bashing. Maybe I'll just do IRS bashing all by itself because of what you're required to do in order to see consumers don't know about what goes on with employers and with other groups like CPAs who do tax returns. Or anybody who does tax returns, you have to register with the IRS in order to prepare tax returns for compensation. Now, it used to be, your friends and family, you could do real simple. I've known over my career, those who, you collect $50 a return. It's a real simple, basic return. You fill it out, send it in. You get your $50. They get their refund or not. And, you get a number of those, makes nice supplemental income. Not anymore. The IRS says since 2014 you have to register with them in order to prepare returns for hire, for compensation. And again, you might think, oh well, they want to make sure you're qualified. No, no, that's absolutely not true. You can be if you want to. You do not have to be qualified. You don't have to know the first damn thing about filling a tax return, but you can fill somebody's return and collect some money, and as long as you're registered, you're good to go. Now starting this year for the 2020 tax year, now you have to pay them too. more extortion. You cannot. So in other words, you cannot, even have something on the side, real simple ones. You can't make any money doing tax returns unless you register with the IRS and pay them money. This regulation, this thievery and extortion, and it's just killing business. I bet it would be a lot more prosperous country if people could just, hey, let me do a business. I'm good at this, and see if people can pay me, and then we'll be good to go, right? And if you're lousy at it, people aren't going to come to you. People aren't going to pay you. So there's a market incentive to be good at what you do. We don't need government regulation killing business and stealing from business. And consumers don't know what the other side of that has to put up with. And then we can get into the employer side too. The employees have no idea what employers have to go through in order to maintain and keep employees. And then, it's all because of the government stealing and extorting. It's killing business. So these are just one, two, three, couple, 3, 4 examples. How many other examples can you think of where you can't do something without, getting the government's blessing, letting the government tell you what you can and cannot do, right? How many other examples can you think of? Because we're fraught with examples. You can't carry on trade between states. The government was tasked to facilitate and encourage trade between states, not regulate. There is nothing in the documents that tell the government to regulate anything. It says encourage and protect. So the UCC code is nothing but killing business again. It's more extortion, more thievery. So, guess I ranted a little bit, didn't I? But just think about it. You can't own anything. You can't do anything without paying money to the government and getting their permission to do so. How is that a free country? They have that in Russia. They have that in Nazi Germany, Stalin's Russia, Lenin's Russia, lots of other places you could think of. So think of some other examples and start realizing, wait a minute, this crap's gone out of hand. Right, so I'll call it in. I went very long today. I'm sorry, but not. This is stuff people should know, and most consumers do not realize what actually is going on. So maybe we can spread the word, and tell people, hey, these things are just atrocious. So have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. And as always, stay courageous.